Have you ever wondered why some people seem to age overnight after a period of overwhelming sadness or stress? Why does the face in the mirror sometimes look older than you remember, even though only a year has passed? Science now tells us that these aren't just feelings. Chronic depression can, quite literally, make your brain and body older than they should be. This isn't just a poetic metaphor or a scare tactic. Beneath the surface, powerful biological forces are quietly at work, turning emotional pain into physical aging, often without us realizing it. Today, let's journey into the invisible world where mood and molecules collide and discover how depression is a silent time thief, robbing us not just of joy, but of youth itself. For many, depression is far more than a fleeting sadness. It's a persistent shadow, sapping energy and hope, coloring every experience with a tint of gray. Unlike the sadness that comes and goes after a tough week or a heartbreak, depression can last months or years. People living with chronic depression often describe waking up tired, feeling like they're running on empty, or moving through life with a heavy, invisible weight. But what's less visible and even more insidious is what's happening inside their bodies, especially in their brains. Recent scientific discoveries have revealed that depression leaves fingerprints everywhere, in our blood, our hormones, and even in the DNA blueprint of our cells. What, exactly, is depression? It's easy to mistake depression for ordinary sadness or a lack of willpower, but it's much more than that. Clinical depression, or major depressive disorder, is a persistent mental health condition marked by low mood, lack of pleasure in life, changes in sleep and appetite, and difficulty concentrating. Unlike normal sadness, depression doesn't simply pass with time or distraction. It rewires the way the brain functions, disrupts hormonal balances, and sets off a cascade of changes that ripple through the entire body. For the millions of people who live with depression, it can feel like a private battle that others can't see or understand. Yet this private battle leaves very public marks on the body, sometimes in ways that are only visible under a microscope or through years of quiet decline. One of the most striking discoveries of modern science is the link between depression and biological aging. For decades, researchers noticed that people with long-term depression often developed age-related diseases earlier: heart problems, diabetes, cognitive decline, and even certain types of cancer. But only recently have we begun to unravel the hidden mechanisms that make this happen. At the heart of it all lies a storm of chemical signals, hormones, and molecules set loose by the stress of chronic sadness. When you're under stress or feeling anxious, your body releases a hormone called cortisol. In small doses, cortisol is helpful. It wakes you up, helps you react to danger, and manages inflammation. But when depression keeps stress levels high day after day, cortisol becomes a kind of slow poison. High, persistent levels of cortisol shrink parts of the brain vital for memory and emotion, such as the hippocampus. This means people with chronic depression can literally have smaller brains, with fewer connections between nerve cells. The more severe or long-lasting the depression, the more pronounced this effect becomes, making it harder to recover, even when mood eventually improves. Cortisol's damaging effects don't end in the brain. Chronic exposure to this stress hormone disrupts the immune system, leaving the body in a state of low-grade, persistent inflammation. Normally, inflammation helps us heal from injuries and fights off infection, but when it lingers for months or years, it becomes a silent destroyer. Inflammation wears down blood vessels, damages heart tissue, and accelerates the onset of diseases like atherosclerosis and diabetes. The immune system, instead of protecting the body, starts to erode it from within. Researchers now see chronic inflammation as one of the main bridges between depression and physical decline, making mental health as critical to longevity as diet or exercise. The science goes deeper, all the way down to the level of our cells. Every cell in the body contains protective caps at the ends of its chromosomes, called telomeres. These telomeres act like the plastic tips on shoelaces, preventing genetic material from fraying with each cell division. Over time, telomeres naturally shorten, and this shortening is one of the clearest biological markers of aging. But here's the twist. People with chronic depression have been found to have much shorter telomeres than their peers, even after accounting for age, smoking, or other health factors. It's as if their bodies are burning through their biological clocks at double speed. A 2015 study led by Dr. Owen Wolkowitz at the University of California, San Francisco, found that individuals with major depression had telomeres comparable in length to people nearly a decade older. This was more than a statistical quirk. It was a warning that mental suffering leaves a real, measurable mark at the cellular level. Additional research has shown that the longer and more severe the depression, the greater the degree of telomere shortening. This finding explains in part why depression isn't just an emotional state but a systemic disease with far-reaching effects. On top of telomere damage, chronic depression disrupts the brain's supply of crucial growth factors. One in particular, called brain-derived neurotrophic factor, BDNF, is essential for creating new connections between neurons and keeping brain tissue healthy. Depression can drastically reduce levels of BDNF, leading to loss of brain volume and the shrinking of areas responsible for memory, learning, and emotion regulation. Imagine a lush green forest turning to dry, brittle kindling. This is the biological reality for many people enduring long-term depression. These biological blows are not confined to the invisible inner world, they ripple outward, shaping how people age on the outside as well. Consider the stories of individuals whose hair turned gray or fell out prematurely during periods of deep depression, or those who developed chronic illnesses like heart disease, diabetes, or immune disorders far earlier than expected. It's no coincidence. The cascade of stress hormones, inflammation, and cellular aging triggered by depression shows up everywhere, from our skin and hair to our muscles and bones. Sleep, too, becomes a casualty. Depression often disrupts normal sleep cycles, leading to chronic insomnia or unrefreshing sleep. This creates a vicious cycle, as poor sleep further impairs mood, weakens the immune system, and accelerates cellular aging. Over time, those affected may find themselves looking and feeling older, struggling with fatigue, forgetfulness, and aches that don't quite match their years. Beyond the physical symptoms, depression quietly chips away at the fabric of daily life. People may lose interest in activities they once enjoyed, withdraw from social connections, or find themselves unable to manage work or family responsibilities. This social isolation not only deepens the emotional toll but also deprives the body and brain of the protective effects that come from meaningful relationships and engagement. Studies show that loneliness itself can act as a powerful accelerant for both depression and aging, fueling a feedback loop that can be difficult to break. Real-life cases bring these scientific findings to life. Take, for example, Anna, a once energetic woman in her late 30s, who after several years of untreated depression began to experience memory lapses, high blood pressure, and unexplained weight gain. Doctors initially attributed her symptoms to stress or genetics, but brain scans revealed shrinkage in areas typically seen only in much older adults. Her telomere length matched that of people 10 years her senior. With the help of therapy and support, Anna slowly began to reclaim her health, but her story stands as a reminder. Emotional pain, when ignored, can leave physical scars that linger for years. The interplay between depression and aging is not a one-way street. As the body and brain age prematurely under the weight of depression, the very signs of this aging, such as memory issues, declining physical health, or a weathered appearance, can deepen the depression itself. This creates a cruel feedback loop. Feeling older can intensify despair, and greater despair, in turn, accelerates aging. Psychologists sometimes refer to this as a cycle of biological pessimism, where the awareness of decline reinforces the mental state that caused it. What's even more striking is how invisible these changes can be to outsiders. On the surface, someone might appear only a little more tired or withdrawn, but inside, their body could be undergoing changes usually reserved for people decades older. Brain scans of people with long-term depression sometimes reveal patterns of atrophy and reduced connectivity similar to those found in early-stage Alzheimer's disease. The risk of chronic conditions like cardiovascular disease, metabolic syndrome, and certain cancers rises sharply, contributing to a significantly higher rate of early mortality among people living with depression. Yet amid this sobering picture, there is hope. Research suggests that the biological effects of depression are, at least in part, reversible. Interventions such as psychotherapy, regular physical activity, mindfulness practices, and building strong social connections have all been shown to reduce inflammation, restore healthy hormone levels, and even slow or partially reverse the shortening of telomeres. Some studies indicate that with effective treatment, levels of BDNF in the brain can bounce back, leading to the growth of new neural connections and improved brain function. Equally important is the role of self-compassion and social support. People who reach out for help, whether through counseling, community, or supportive relationships, are often able to break the feedback loop, restoring both emotional and physical well-being. Even small steps, like daily walks in nature or practicing gratitude, can nudge the body's biology back toward a healthier baseline. The stories of those who have battled depression and emerged stronger are reminders that while depression is a thief of time, it is not unstoppable. In the end, the message is both sobering and empowering. Depression is a silent force that can age us from the inside out, but it is not a life sentence. Recognizing the hidden ways that depression accelerates aging allows us to approach mental health with the urgency and seriousness it deserves, not as a weakness, but as a crucial front in the fight for a longer, healthier, and more fulfilling life. If you or someone you know is struggling with depression, know that the consequences reach far beyond mood. They touch every cell, every organ, every moment of life. But also remember that every step toward healing, no matter how small, can begin to turn back the biological clock. Modern science, therapy, supportive relationships, and lifestyle changes can all help repair the invisible damage and restore vitality. Aging is inevitable, but how quickly we age and how well we live is still within our power to influence. So next time you look in the mirror and wonder about the story your reflection tells, consider this. The mind and body are deeply intertwined, and caring for your mental health is one of the most powerful forms of anti-aging available. Depression may be a silent time thief, but with awareness, action, and support, you can reclaim your time, your youth, and your joy.